Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first show of A Man Who Truly Delivers. This is a telecom call in show. I've been in the wireless industry for about 26 years. I've worked for a carrier, I've worked for a tower owner and developer. I'm actually worked for three different ones. I'm working for one now. I'm currently employed by TowerCo. I'm a business development manager for the South, which means I go out and I'm looking to build and put up new steel and then hope other carriers come along, hopefully, to make the model work out. But I've held many jobs, started in the industry, like I said, selling car phones in 95, worked in retail, worked in business sales, then got into marketing and got to Nashville, which that's where we are now. That's where we are in the studio. And been in Nashville since 97 and got here GTE and then worked that company changed later became Verizon and I was in the marketing division, and then went to work for Crown Castle. Actually, Steve Nicely, who works at Vertical Bridge, hired me, and went to work at Crown Castle. Spent 17 years there, and then spent some time at FDH, and after that, last year. Spent the year with Insight Towers, Insight Wireless, Max Lind, Tony Sabatino, David Wiseman, Robert Leonard, and those guys. We built 14 towers. That ended up, and then toward the end of last year, long about October, Todd Boyer and I cut a deal, and I've been with Tower Co. ever since and been very happy. But right now, it's not about me. I just wanted to let you know I think I have the experience to talk about several different phases of the wireless industry. And we're all here and we're all about 5G, and this show is all about you. Of course, the number is 615-560-9299. All you got to do is just call in. We'll get you right into the queue. Our first caller is on with us now, and it's Ken Buchanan. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing great, Stuart. Good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear you. Ken Buchanan, who's been in the industry for some time. Who you working for now, Ken?
Right now with CCI Products, an antenna manufacturer out of New York City area, although I sit here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I can just give you a little bit of background like Stuart did. Stuart, you're a youngin because I think I started the industry back in 1988, so it's been a long, great career in wireless. I started with the introduction of DAP-A antennas on the antenna side. Was there for quite a while, and then was with different build-a-suit and regulatory compliance companies such as SiteSafe. Then I was with CSS Antenna for a little while, who became JMA, and most recently joined CCI some 4 or 5 years ago. So we're kind of at the forefront of production of antennas and filters and almost anything you can think of on the antenna side.
And just speaking from your standpoint, what really goes into a 5G configuration, Ken? I mean, what's going out of your warehouse? What's going out the door?
Well, we are definitely selling quite a few of the multi-port antennas, obviously 8-port, 12-port antennas. Obviously, the biggest R&D development has been for the C-band, as we've been waiting these auction results. We're working on various C-band antenna designs. So that's kind of where the focus has been. But a lot of multi-ports. We also specialize in lots of multi-beam antennas for venues. Anywhere where we can do to add capacity. We have we have bisector antennas, and now we also have a lot of three-beam sector antennas even for macro sites. So venues, macro sites, you name it. We're definitely heavily involved working with all the carriers.
And when you talk about an antenna like that, and let's just kind of break it down for those that are new into it, you take a carrier like Verizon. I mean, they own 800, 1900, 2100, 700, just recently bought this 3.5. What types of bands are running in those, are they running 3 and 4 different frequency bands in those, Ken?
Absolutely. For the low band, we'll cover anywhere around anything with 600, 700 in the traditional 800 band. The mid band, we cover, the 1700 all the way up to the 2.7 range, so you get all those bands. And then absolutely anything to do with CBRS, even LAA, and obviously with C-band being so close to CBRS, anything in that range. We've been working heavily involved with designing antennas. For example, Crown Castle, as you noted too, that you worked at before, developing a whole line of small cell antennas, canister antennas for the city environment. So absolutely, we're on top of all those bands in the antennas as we can, working with the carriers.
And those antennas, when we stand back and look at a new carrier like Dish, are you designing antennas for their frequencies as well?
Well, the beauty of it with Dish is kind of already had those antennas in place. So they're looking at a lot of the octoports, eight-port antennas. But they're pretty much piggybacking on a lot of the same frequencies as T-Mobile and Sprint in those areas.
And looking at that, Ken, from years ago and staring at it today, and building a network from scratch, and the technology and the R&D that's come along in those antennas that you're selling, it's a lot better than it has been in the past, isn't it?
Oh, if you saw the antenna design, even back in the early 90s when we were first looking to take those 800, I mean, if we really go back, you're talking omnidirectional linear stacked antenna arrays. But in the early 90s, I was making a lot of trips to Whippany, New Jersey, Bell Labs, working with Lucent, well, at the time of Bell, Motorola with their TDMA, and the GSM, really designing these antennas to get them in at the time, the PCS frequencies, all for the test bed in Boulder, Colorado, that the FCC established for a lot of the carriers to start testing the 1.9 band. So yeah, being at the forefront and developing a lot of the antennas back then, a lot of things were vertically polarized. It did not take long as the mid-90s came in to see a lot of the, cross-polarized. And it's from just going from those days to looking inside the antenna nowadays is night and day. We're cramming anything and everything in those antennas and trying to keep the same form factor, but the evolution of the antenna over the years has been tremendous.
And when we look at that, what is the equipment levels like right now? I mean, what do those look like, the min-max levels, as far as, ordering, large quantities of antennas? I mean, are they readily available right now? I mean, are you seeing any holdup in people getting what they need?
I mean, obviously deliveries are going to be good. They're going to be bad. It all depends on volume. But we work very closely with the engineers, obviously the design engineers on the front end, and especially with the four bigger carriers, you got to go through those approval processes. So you try to get as many forecasts that you can. But we are truly at the forefront because we kind of know which carriers are going to design where and what kind of technologies they're going to be looking for. Quite ahead of the game before site acquisition kind of gets involved. So, but yeah, obviously this past year has been a challenge for I think all the carriers or for all the vendors on the product manufacturing level. But we've been able to forge ahead like I think pretty much everybody has to overcome and adapt and make sure we try to make as many deliveries as possible so those crews aren't just sitting there.
And what do you look like? I mean, right now, I mean, are you thinking the back half of the year is going to be busy, or where are you seeing it, Ken?
Well, being on the antenna side and not from the site development side, we're usually on the front end, so we usually see a lot of our heavier volume on orders toward the beginning of the year, correct?
Right.
Then we go into production and delivery, and toward the back of the year, it's more of it's people like you all, slapping the antennas up. So we kind of fall off as the year goes, typically in the pattern on the product side. But anything can change based on different deployments, as you know.
And you've been busy quite a bit?
Oh yeah, very busy, very busy. I think we're probably one of the top 3 or 4 antenna vendors in the U.S. at this point.
And that sales approach, how's that been going for you? I mean, how are you conducting your sales with the COVID thing going on, Ken, and getting out and seeing customers? Are you doing a Zoom or a Citrix or a Google Meet, or what are you using?
Uh, surprisingly, surprisingly, you know, I kind of attribute to being in the industry for quite a while and really nurturing and developing these relationships. Obviously, the travel has taken a dip, but I've been having very little issue getting meetings, although they're not in offices. I'll pick up takeout at a favorite restaurant of an engineer, and we'll sit on their back deck. It's all about personal relationships and the people I've met over the years and the engineers. I'm having not very little problem getting meetings, whether it's on golf courses or just going to their house, and or sometimes going to a restaurant. But it definitely has been challenging. But I've actually had no problem having my meetings with clients.
And how big an area do you cover, Ken?
Actually, it's a small area because being in the industry for quite a while, I used to do a lot of international travel. But with my current position, I just cover Baltimore, Virginia, D.C., all the way down through the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia is kind of where I'm at right now. So the good thing with that is I'm not restricted to have to jump on a plane, which I haven't done in probably 7 or 8 months. Other than an 8-hour drive to Baltimore from Knoxville, that's as far as I've had to drive. Um, so
And you got
I guess I'm fortunate to rely on planes.
Yeah, and you got somebody with you. You said when you first got on the phone, you got somebody with you.
Yes, I have Nate Buchanan, who's we'll call him a young buck. He's just getting in the industry, so he's just getting started out. But I do have him here, but he's probably not going to be able to speak to the volume that I just did. But I think at the most, maybe he would like to say hello.
Well, and Nate, what's how long you been in the business, Nate?
Like my dad said, I am a young buck. I literally just got in probably like a month ago, in the beginning of 2021.
What is the most? What do you think is the most? I guess frightful thing about the industry? Is it the terms, or is it? Do you feel like you're overwhelmed? Do you? Is it too much coming too fast? What does that mix look like?
Not really. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's completely new. I've never been really in the sales industry, and I grew up watching my dad, in the sales industry. But
He's probably more looking to just try to, he's got to nurture, he's got to build relationships and just get to know people in the industry. Um, so that's gonna be a challenge for him.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, definitely got a good teacher. Uh, you've been out traveling a little bit. Saw you hanging out with Steve the other night, and where were you headed at that point?
Actually, I was having some meetings up there in Kentucky, and I got up to Louisville. And I was like, well, I can't go to Louisville and not see if Steve's around, and we went out and had a couple drinks and just talked about being able to get together still, and really kind of to your point, the challenge is dealing with the virus and kind of along the lines where I am saying I do have no problem getting some of those meetings. I'm not meeting with entire teams. If there's 5 engineers at AT&T in Richmond, I might just meet up with one of them. Not everybody is just, everybody's kind of has their own personal, view of everything, but for the most part, people are kind of staying in and not getting out. Any of the meetings I do have, it's just usually 1 or 2 people at the most. Um, but yeah, it's kind of nice to see Steve. He's doing well.
Just want to remind you that call-in number 615-560-9299 if you'd like to dial in. Talking with Ken Buchanan now, who hustles antennas. Currently selling a lot of 5G antennas, and says min-max levels are holding, and we appreciate those that are joining the show and everything. Ken, going to South Summit?
Absolutely. I think that got pushed back to June. But absolutely, I do plan on being there.
Yeah.
I'll have Nathan will be joining that South Summit as well. He's working with M1R2. They're an up-and-coming engineering A&E firm and site services. So he's excited to get out there as well to hit the floor and start meeting some of the people in the industry. So,
Who was that you mentioned there? I'm sorry.
oh, Nate Buchanan, my son,
He's going to
M1R2.
he's going to be selling
Yeah, he'll be there as well.
he's going to be selling engineering services.
Correct. He's going to be focused on site services with a company out of Philadelphia.
Okay, okay. And how big a shop do they have, Ken?
They're up and coming engineering firm, but they've been collectively, kind of doing the same things we've been doing for 30 years. But I can't speak to them because I don't work for them, so I'm not sure how big they are.
Right.
But I think they've been in business for 4 years.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you dialing in and everything. Is there what's the biggest thing, like you said, you got to accomplish this year? I mean, as far as like, of course, hit your numbers and everything, but is it make grounds with Dish? Is it get further upstream with T-Mobile? Is it sell more in the what are you hearing about broadband in that sector? A lot of money going to be pumped into that, Ken. Are you all in your sales mix as you look at the board and the yearly numbers? Are you looking for broadband sales to be big for this year?
Uh, well, right now we're definitely focused on several areas, and that is anything to do with FirstNet with AT&T. That continue to build out. C-band is definitely on our radar with our antenna development with carriers. We're just waiting to find out. We're pretty sure Verizon's going to be a big player, obviously, in AT&T. How much Dish? I'm pretty sure Dish will get some of that band as well, and T-Mobile. But we also look at those two tier 2 carriers, and we're also looking at putting a lot of our efforts into Crown Castle on the small cell side. Although that's kind of moving along, not as not as quickly as we'd like to see.
Right.
But that's where our focus is.
And when you say Crown Castle buying antennas, they're a neutral host. They're basically just buying antennas to suit all the carriers and basically serve them in that right of way. And so you're looking to jump in on the Verizon Crown Castle deal, the small cell deal.
Absolutely. Obviously, anything with Crown Castle, it's all neutral host. So, but that's kind of where we're focused at. Are those areas.
But broadband, as far as this, all the money, the government money being put in, you all are not projecting hardly anything in that sector, even though there's a lot of talk out of it.
I'm actually not sure I can answer that one. Not really
Okay.
sure.
Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to press you or anything. I didn't know if y'all was. Ken, don't hold me hostage on that, please, and everything. Well,
The
did you?
beauty of it, I mean, within any antenna manufacturer, we're definitely in tune with the FCC, any type of frequency allocation, and obviously any carrier build out. We're very much in tune with the corporate offices to make sure we're developing the right antennas to be at the right time.
That is a real interesting question. So when the FCC makes a decision to maybe allocate some frequency for sale, how quick do you all know about that?
Well, we usually know fairly quick because we deal with the carrier HQ groups, so they pretty much know before us. So as long as we have those relationships with the engineering headquarters, we can get a good feel for what they anticipate as far as getting the frequencies.
Understood. And then from there it goes into R&D, and then the research and development used from the past, and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
And 5G, a lot of people are all geeked out and worried about going to melt or something, but the power is so much less, isn't it, Ken?
Exactly. I agree with that.
The power output from the antenna itself. And whereas in the past, like you said, antennas were the catalog was the catalog, but you mentioned venue antennas. We recently went through the inauguration, and they were posting pictures of some of those antennas that they were using on the cows, and they were just ginormous.
I guarantee you, our antennas were definitely up there for the inauguration because we're probably the biggest. Um, I don't want to sound too conceited, but I'm pretty sure we're probably the biggest supplier of the multi-beam antennas for venues throughout all the carriers. So we're very active in any type of venue. But you're right. In the old days, you could put up an omnidirectional antenna and blast as much power as you could. Obviously you can't do that nowadays. But it's all the antennas are more specialized and more complicated, more complex.
Absolutely, and the reason being is you're using a lot more frequency in a tighter location, in a tighter knit, closer area than you normally would.
And it's correct. I mean, it's about multi-band as much band and as much that you can get out of the antennas for capacity.
And then of course more cell sites will have to be needed because they're building them closer to each other. Everything's closer, isn't it, Ken? I mean, everything is much more tight niche than it was in the past.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, did you have anything else you wanted to discuss? This is our first show. I actually do not have any idea. I do not have another caller in the slot. Nobody waiting, Ken. So you and I can just sit here and talk just a minute. You said, and you talked about FirstNet antennas. Is there anything different in a FirstNet cell antenna? Or is it just all the same antennas?
The FirstNet, we do quite a bit with AT&T and FirstNet, is the lower band. It just extends slightly higher, so it's really not too much to adjust those antennas to cover that additional frequency. So it's not a brand new, I wouldn't call it a brand new design, but we've actually been working on FirstNet for, I'd say at least 2 years. So that's not a new one for us. We've been working on that for probably 2 or 3 years, waiting for that to happen. So there's no additional change in size. It's just a little bit of additional phasing in there to get the bands that they cover.
And then,
and obviously primarily for AT&T, obviously.
And then, like the incident that happened, I guess that happened in Fort Worth or whatever, where the car pileup happened and everything. Those frequencies are deployed when they need them in that tight. Then I guess they're using that single band during that time period when they need to talk to each other or whatnot.
As far as I know, I don't get involved with that. The whole purpose of the FirstNet is, if you remember in the old days, the old scanners, you had 150 and 450 megahertz, the old VHF, UHF systems out there. The whole purpose of the FirstNet system is so neighboring jurisdictions can talk to each other. So I'm assuming that's what they're doing. I really don't get involved with it that far, but that is the purposing of the FirstNet.
Well, and
the jurisdiction can talk.
Well, and I think even that Southern Link, or the old ESIMer, Southern Link still in business and everything, but operating on a 4G long-term evolution network, that 800 frequency that they've got, and they're simply using an app that rides on top of that, because all it is a voice over IP. You're just basically doing a simplex telephone call, push it in, and I talk, and then everybody can hear, or so on and so forth, isn't it?
As far as I believe that is true. Yeah. I really don't get too much in that technology of it, but that is the purpose of it. Correct.
And besides the antennas you're selling, what else are you guys selling in that kit that comes down through there to the carrier?
Well, predominantly we sell the antennas, but we also have a whole product division of filters and diplexers and all those auxiliary products. So, but they're those are pretty much standard, almost commodity type items, unless somebody needs a certain design. But yeah, so the filters, diplexers, all those kind of products we sell as well.
So you
You
think?
know, we manufacture.
So do you foresee as we continue to roll through 5G that R&D that the antennas continue to get bigger like that we saw at the inauguration?
Well, let's talk about that for a second. The size of the antenna, obviously, um, the frequency determines the size. So obviously, the higher the frequency, the smaller the internal dipole and the configurations, so the smaller the antenna. What you're seeing there in the multi-beam antennas, we'll call them venue antennas. It's not just the inauguration.
Okay, so
It's
now
just
they're going to be
the
called. So now these great big antennas now have a term. They're all going to be called just venue antennas, used at Super Bowls, inaugurations,
correct.
for high traffic events.
Right, Coachella, or what's the one there in Nashville? It's what's it called?
CMA Fest.
Bonnaroo.
Oh, Bonnaroo. Yeah.
Anywhere where you basically, yeah, racetrack, football stadium. But these antennas have been around for quite a while, at least I'd say almost 10 years. And basically, what you're doing is instead of having one beam coming out of the antennas, you're putting a multi-beam. And we have dual beam antennas, and we also have tri-beam antennas. But for the venues, the focus is getting many beams in that antenna. We have up to 10 beams, and for all intents and purposes, an antenna is going to cover 65 degrees. Well, we put up a 10 beam antenna. Each beam's probably 7 degrees. So you're basically increasing the capacity of the antenna to get the most capacity you can in one antenna. And as a result of that, those antennas they almost look like windows. They can kind
Yeah.
of get a little bit big, especially if you have the lower band in there. If you put 700, the 700, 600 bands in there, those antennas are going to be, they're going to be fairly big. They're going to be, 4 foot by 5 foot or whatever. Um, and you can put them on cows, you can put them in stadiums, you can put them almost anywhere. But we have so many different combinations of how many beams you want, depending on the capacity you're looking to put them on. Cows, you kind of start getting a little bit limitations on the weight. For example, if you're going to Pinehurst for the golf event, and you throw up a cow, you're not going to be able to put the biggest multi-beam antenna on there, but you're going to be able to put some multi-beams up there to kind of aim it to where you think those crowds are going to walk. So, but yeah, the multi-beam antennas or venue antennas, they've actually been around for almost 10 years, different sizes, but they always seem to evolve.
Well, in some of the golf events I've seen where they use crane and everything, use a crane and try to install them or attach them or somewhat to a crane, and I've seen some weird kind of configurations, but now, or some call them. Someone said it was basically not even a cow. It was just a sector. It was a sector frame ad. I'm not even for sure at one of the football games. But definitely the cow look has kind of changed over the years for those venues.
Yeah, that is correct. Keep in mind, when we put up a venue antenna, they're pretty much just going one direction. We're not putting them up in like a traditional three-sector site configuration. Now, some of the split beams, the dual split beams, or even the tri-split beams you can use for macro sites where you could put them in, on all three sectors. But really, I mean, yeah, and I'm not an engineer.
No. But thank you for sharing.
The engineers know, the performance engineers know what sector they're hurting the capacity on. You could put up a dual, as soon as you add another sector to a sector, almost like a fourth sector,
Yeah.
you don't have to change out all three sectors. You just got to change out that one sector to give you the additional capacity. But for the venues, yeah, it's usually just one sector. You're just kind of looking to point at where the people are.
Right. And then
Yeah.
and then handling voice is, that's their number one ticket anyway. They, the voice and the text, and then the data, they don't realize that data comes down to about number 3, doesn't it?
I don't get involved with that end of it, but yeah.
And you said you were in Knoxville and everything. So basically, what kind of weather did y'all get over there?
Huh. It was actually gorgeous a couple of days ago, but that kind of ended. I don't think it's probably more than 45 degrees today, but we were probably 70 degrees a couple of days ago. It was gorgeous. Um, yeah, we've been here 15 years. We absolutely love it over here by the Smoky Mountains, and before that, I used to live up in D.C. And then before that, New York. So it's really peaceful down here. It's kind of like a nice little piece of heaven.
Well, anything else, Ken, you would like to add?
No, I think I'm definitely good, and I certainly appreciate you letting me get in on the call. And I feel pretty honored to be one of the first ones to call in.
Well,
So,
actually, you are my
put
only
that one
caller,
right.
so you can kind of stick with me. If you want to sit here, I didn't want to really get with you, but I mean get rid of you. But I mean until I get another caller or somebody decides that they'd like to call in and rescue you
Yeah.
and whatnot. But I've got a slot for about 5 callers. Once again, the number is 615. 560-9299. You call in right now. I'll see you pop up. I'll let you into the room, and we'll talk a little bit about telecom. You know, you was talking about that CBRS auction. Gosh, $4.6 billion was spent on that thing. So you know they're going to deploy it.
Now you're talking about the C-band one, right?
Yeah,
The C-band auction was the one they just had. And I think they did about. I think it was 80 billion. Last I saw.
was it?
I think you're going to see Verizon probably around 30 billion. Here in AT&T, maybe around 20 billion, and trickle down T-Mobile, Dish, and maybe some more smaller players. But yeah, the C-band is kind of where we're focused right now with our developments and getting ready for that. And again, being on the antenna side, you kind of see those RFGS coming on the front side, so it's kind of neat to see where they're going to focus their efforts.
Yeah, exactly. Because now that buying the frequencies one thing and then deploying it's another. I mean, you can't let it sit on the shelf, but you always get your money back out of it. Any of the frequency you've ever seen bought or sold or used or whatever. I mean, Crown used that one frequency I don't know how many times. I mean, Light Squared tried it, and then M I think tried it, and then that frequency, and Crown recycled it I don't know how many times and sold the rights to it, and it was the frequency that they started, and it was that old Modio frequency.
Yeah,
You remember
yeah.
Modio, don't you?
I'd heard of that name, but I mean, my memory's not as good as it used to be, but I had heard of that.
So Modio was a broadcast. It was a direct. It was just a one-way frequency, basically nationwide, and basically it was to first. Modio was one of the first products of television to the phone, and they had actually, and it was going to be. You were going to have to actually deploy lots of antennas on crown towers basically and lease it back to yourself, and then but it was a broadcast type, you know um, application, that they had to have a special phone, and I think it was only like 15 channels or whatever. And then, coming screeching in on top of it was this thing called long term evolution. And it could do everything. And plus, it was back and forth. It was a two-way frequency. It was a duplex frequency that you could transmit and receive, versus the frequency that Crown was using. Yeah, but the main purpose of it was just to do broadcasting, a transmit only. And,
Right.
so you end up, even like that, even like that, even like the Nextel service, which was an ESMR, or Enhanced Specialized Mobile Radio. I mean, during the time it came out, Ken, it was an awesome idea. We'll just two-way and save all this money, and there is no bandwidth because it would be simply a packet running through the air of information going, and not connected totally, but somewhat, what I'm saying, and then coming back, and you know, just kind of like right now, you're quiet, but I'm doing the talking. But you can talk if you want to, in the duplex part of it, but not in a simplex, not in that eSIMR type environment.
Right. Almost like the old paging too. Keep
Yeah,
forgetting about that.
it's funny you mentioned that because now some of those paging frequencies are running across long-term evolution networks. They're just
Right.
they're just deploying them and letting them run across it and everything. So, do you see that? Do you see that those paging frequencies being used across? What happened to those?
That's a very good question. I have no clue. Off the top of my head, a lot of that stuff, if I remember correctly, was in the 800 band. But I haven't. So you mentioned about the one way. I was thinking about paging. I haven't thought about that in quite a long time.
Well, those
Um,
those
but I
frequencies are
remember
on.
the old Omni antennas, linear antennas. We used to develop paging. And if I remember correctly, it was all in the 800 band somewhere. That was so long ago.
Right, but some paging services, in the beginning was one way because it's basically sent the
Hmm.
message out into a pager and then you received it, and then two-way texting, I guess, became popular a little bit there. But what I can't,
Right.
they had to have another frequency to do that on, didn't they?
I have no idea. I mean, yeah, if you're going to transmit and receive, obviously that's a different frequency.
Right.
But it still would probably be in that 800 band somewhere,
Uh huh.
off the top of my head. Yeah, obviously, yeah.
That's interesting. Those old frequencies still being used and out there and everything. Um, you, like I said, you seem to be doing okay, and I appreciate you being on the show. I definitely don't want to tie you up. If we do definitely, I guess Ken, if we definitely do not get any more callers, you would be the only caller, which would make the show a success. I would not be disappointed. I did not fail. But thought I had some other callers, maybe some other people that would call in and maybe kick the show off. The whole idea was simply, I wanted to come on and basically give people a chance to talk. It seems like to me that there's so many people out there that they want to get their voice out there, or they want to, they have an idea, or they don't know how to get to, they don't know how to get to social media. They watch, or they like to participate, or they don't know what to post, or if they did post something, Ken, their manager might say that's the wrong thing to post. And the most important thing is you have a brand, and you're trying to get your brand out there and get it in front of your customer's name as often as you can, because that's the only way you can get your customer to remember you when it comes time to do something, whether it be, I want to go build a tower. Who do I get? Well, let's call Stork. The idea was simply simpled around this, and to try to give people a chance like you and Nate, if Nate, if Nate wanted to talk more about his engineering company, this gives him an avenue to do it. Whereas, he doesn't have to go and I don't know. He doesn't have to go and do anything. He just has to talk a little bit about his business, or like you did. You're in the and mention your company's name again, Ken. Sorry.
Yeah. For me, it's CCI. It's Communication Components Incorporated. I think the company was established at least 20 years ago. Um, at first, they manufactured primarily dash trays, anything to do with filters, combiners, diplexers. Then the company bought 10XC, which was a Canadian manufacturer of antennas. This was probably a good 15 years ago, and they've grown the business since then. But unfortunately, when you hear CCI, you think Crown Castle, and you see the stock symbol. The CCI product is actually Communication Components Incorporated, an antenna manufacturer that has no relation with Crown. That's probably the only drawback is that CCI part. But yeah, so the company's very well established and does very well in the industry and continues to grow.
Well, and that's what this show
And
was. I mean, that's what this show was created for, is for you to come on and say, CCI is a company I work for. I'm out here selling antennas. I want to sell more antennas. I'm Kim Buchanan. I'm from
Correct.
Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm sure there's a way to. You're on LinkedIn, so I mean, if some of the people really wanted to get in touch with you, they could reach out to you on LinkedIn. But you know, giving you a chance to just talk about your company and I mean, what do you think about some of the videos and some of the social media products I put out?
It's very, first of all, it's very appreciative that you take the time to do a lot of the things that you do. So, anytime you can get a little insider, or I should say insider, but educational information on kind of where the industry's going, it's always good to see that type of medium out there. I'll be honest with you, I'm not much into that, like the Facebook stuff and whatnot, and I never had LinkedIn for years and years and years. And finally, enough people said, "Dude, you got to get on LinkedIn." This is it's probably been 5 years now, and I went on there, and I cannot believe, being in the industry since 1988, how many old connections I totally had lost over the years I've reconnected with. It's truly amazing how it is today versus how it was back in the old days. And I remember, when I did a lot of the international travel, and I did a lot of travel, 2 million air miles all around the world. When I landed, upon landing in Seoul, Korea, I had better had it mapped out where I was going, because there was nothing. I think we had our first bag full in 1990. So when I'm doing my international travel, if you landed, you had to know what you were doing. Nowadays, it's like with the evolution of the cell industry, the wireless industry, it's truly amazing where it's come in 30 years. It really is.
Well, and you just made a great mention. You can land like you said, like let's say you're up in Pittsburgh and a meeting falls through, and you say, "Man, I wonder, I need to come. I need to go see somebody over." You were there to see, like you said, maybe you're in Pittsburgh to see Crown, and you decided Crown fell through, or they didn't meet you, and you decided you wanted to call AT&T or call somebody else. And you're like, I know the guy's name, and you you can narrow the search. You can go into LinkedIn and get that search down to Verizon Pittsburgh, and then boom, the guy's name or the girl's name pops up, and it comes to your head, and you try to instant message them. Whereas before, that was impossible. Even the chance of possibly reaching out to them, you were lost, weren't you?
Oh, it's amazing the difference. But yeah, back in the old, again, if you didn't have it mapped out and you didn't have your everything set, I mean, you could be. It was interesting. I mean, I think there was only one time it maybe came back and bit me when as technology evolved, and I started saying, what, I don't really need to map it out. I kind of know where I'm going. I don't need to, and I went, and they had relocated their office, and I didn't have. I was a duck out of the water. I mean, a fish out of the water, trying to find out where my appointment was, and obviously I was late for that appointment. But yeah, it's amazing how much the wireless has really changed the world. To be honest with you, even more so just in the last 10 years
Well, and
versus we're talking 30 years ago.
and like you said, there are tools like LinkedIn, and I'm like, I just decided to try to start this to start this show to because like I said, I can do top of the tower, which I'm getting ready to go next week down to that quail hunt, and going to do it and film it and be around those guys. So I'll have an opportunity to be around some wireless professionals, and actually I've already asked one of them. I need some T-Mobile contacts, and you know who I'm asking, and he's got them, and he said he'd be nice enough to hand them off to me, and those are the things that you cannot make it in this telecom industry without a little help from, and it might be your competitor, it might be but most of the time somebody's going to have to help you along if you're going to make it.
I 100% agree. Now, again, I'm back on the product side. But as you know, I've also spent quite a bit of time on the service side, whether it's regulatory or engineering or A&E or even some of those areas. It's a big difference on the product side. I'm dealing with the RF design engineers. It's not as difficult, but if you don't have, like you said, if you don't have that networking, those connections on the site service side, you can be dead in the water real quick. It's really about being there for the people that you're networking with when they need you the most, and it's not as easy on that service side than the products. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Anytime you can get a warm lead into somebody and network, that's a big jump up in the site services.
Absolutely, and like right now, I mean, and getting your name of your company, like your company CCI, getting the name of your company out there, just any chance. I mean, you can't direct mail doesn't work. Email is hard. A lot of people do not read their email, or delete your email that you're trying to send. A lot of people will not answer their phone, and it just makes it hard. I mean, how do you get CCI or the company I work for, Tower Co., how do you get their brand or how do you get their name out in front of them? And just so that they say, I'm going to go do this. Well, I want to use so and so because I know that person is associated, because really you end up buying the person. I mean, a lot of the times, I mean, the antennas you sell, they do have to work and everything, but a lot of times, Ken, they're buying you because you've been there all along, and you'll make sure that if it's not right, you'll make it right.
Absolutely, you got to take care of the client, whether it's services or products. You got to take care of the client. Absolutely.
Well, I don't want to keep you. I have no other callers in the queue, but I definitely don't want to hold you
Okay.
up. You've been a
Yeah,
you've been,
I probably do got to check out. Nate went on a conference call at 4:30, so he had stuck out here about 10 minutes ago or so. But just so you know, Nate, he's a young buck, and he's working for a company called M1R2 Ventures out of Philadelphia, and they are on that service side. I mean, they provide anything from A&E to site services, full construction. They've got a wealth of experience and in the industry, and very well connected. So he's excited, and I'll be looking to make sure he gets out, for example, the South Wireless Summit and some of these other events. Maybe we'll get a golf club in his hand and get him out to some of those as well. But yeah, he's excited. But you look for Nate Buchanan coming around to some of these wireless events soon.
Kim, we can't thank you enough. Kim Buchanan with CCI, and antenna manufacturer, and out there helping us get to 5G. Can't thank you enough for being on the call and helping us. And just thanks a lot.
Thank you, Stork, and have a great weekend. And I'm sure we'll see you out there.
All righty, see you. Bye.
Bye bye.
So Kim Buchanan on the show, and we appreciate him joining us. The number is open. Lines are open, 615-560-9299 if you'd like to call into the show. Kim Buchanan with CCI Components. Like I said, appreciate him. Um, a lot of things going on, like we said, in the marketplace. This ice storm is causing people, I'm sure Wayne Busby's out there filling generators or making sure some of those are taken care of, and everything. Just so much going on in the industry. Maybe you want to talk about, maybe you're looking for a job. Give us a call, 615-560-9299. Maybe you want to get your resume out there. You want to talk to some people. Maybe you've got a company and you're just trying to get started. You want to get your services name out there. You want to talk just for a minute. Give me a call, 615-560-9299, and we'll get you on the air. Just all four companies will be rolling this year. Of course, Verizon, they said they're going to just continue kind of to just upgrade the existing towers, get the 5G antennas on it. AT&T, I think, is in the same mode. T-Mobile be trying to work that Sprint frequency in, get that going, and it'll be kind of a cancellation of some of the old rad centers. And do we want to keep this one? And they'll be deploying, like I said, and the big part of it is that Sprint holds the magic of it is the old Clearwire frequencies. That's the piece they really want to deploy. And then Dish, of course, is a company that's going to be deploying and cranking up here real soon. A lot of services work will be centered around them because they're a wireless carrier that'll be starting from scratch. They're going to be, they don't have anything. They'll inherit some rad centers there from the Sprint, and they do get some customer database from the Virgin Mobile, which they're probably trying to manage that now. But really putting their foot in the sand and going after it, it's going to be interesting because they're going to be kind of building a raw network, and that'll be happening. Next week, let's talk a little bit about the top of the tower schedule, some of that stuff that's going on. First off, next week, like I said, we've got the big annual quail hunt, which will be down in Alabama. I'm going down there to film it. Be around some wireless professionals. I'm going to visit with some of the guys I'm going with because I need some information from some of those people so I can make a sale. That's what it's all about. I'm here for you. I want to help you any way I can. I'm supposed to be helping Michael Davis and Marvin Webster. They've got a new software they're wanting to promote called Next Level. I worked on some components of that last weekend and kind of sent a list to Michael about some of the ideas I thought that are centered around that. Then we're still looking to stack some steel. Been calling on a lot of people, some of my old connections, some of the people that I met at some of the trade shows. Maybe you met me at a trade show. Give me a call, 615-560-9299. Maybe we can reminisce about what we did back at the trade show or whatever we were selling or whatever we were doing. Stadium managers just ended up. A great bunch of people. A lot of these distributive antenna systems will be changed in some of these venues, and they'll be upgrading to 5G. The Super Bowl was just held, and I didn't get to see how many petabytes, contentabytes, or whatever was downloaded on that little deal, but I'm sure it was good. A lot of data, just even though what little crowd was there, I'm sure they still hustled a little bit of data, what little fans they had. Other than that, I can't thank you enough. I work for TowerCo. My name's Stork Montgomery. I'm a tower development guy, business development guy here in the South. I'll build a tower for any of the 4 carriers, and I'll even build one for you. Doesn't make any difference. I'm at 615-812-5999. You can give me a call on my personal and you can Google me, and I'm just about anywhere. But other than that, we do not have any other callers. And with that, I guess we will sign off and call it a successful show with one caller, Kim Buchanan. So we came on and we tried it, and definitely should have worked out. And we'll just have to see what the reaction is. I do think there's a place for this. I think that there is a chance in me to moderate it, and I definitely can drive the traffic. Just need some people that really want to participate, and maybe that kind of describes your sales. My boss, he said to me, Stork, I want you to think big, and I want you to try new ideas, and I want you to step out there, and and with that, you're going to have to take some chances. Not every one of them, and even some of the first broadcasts I had with Stork Vision, they start off slow, and then they gather some momentum. I'm going to be having, I'm going to try a high school football show here real soon, and it's going to be driven on the same format. I don't know what it'll end up being. Not really worried about it. We're just going to get it going and then see where it goes from there. And that's kind of like with this. I've got this number. I own it. It's 615-560-9299. 560-9299. So it'll be the call-in show for the man who truly delivers. I'm thinking that frequency will, will come on maybe next month, see how it is. Maybe get some other callers that'll participate, whatever the show may be. Other than that, can't thank you enough, and we hope to visit with you soon. We did not have any more callers, so we will call it a show with a 1-hour call in, and that's it. We will see you next time on A Man Who Truly Delivers.